In today's video, I'll be sharing my top 5 AI sales training tools for 2026. I'll be ranking these tools based on 4 factors: how real they feel, the value you get based on the scorecard, the feedback that you get back, and the cost of the tool. Right, so we're going to be looking at these factors, and I'm not sponsored by any of these tools. I'm just sharing my own opinion based on the practice that we're going to be doing together. So we're going to be doing the demos live on this call, and then we're just going to see how these tools perform. So I'm excited about this. I hope you are. So let's get into it with number 1. Cool. Kick off with Hyperbound. Now this one is actually built for cold calling and for sales calls training. And actually it's a great place, a great tool to be able to practice with your own sales leaders and sales agents, right? So let's quickly do a live call on this demo. So you can see that you have a couple of industries that you can select from, and you can actually select the kind of role play that you want, whether it's a discovery call, demo call, or renew call. So I'm just going to go ahead and select for SaaS, and I would do a cold call, which is, what I would like to try. And so here you have a couple of buyer personas that you can select from, and I will just select Michael. I'll select David Williams. So this is my first time. I really don't know. So you can select the emotional stage, whether you want the person to be nice, less rude, and all of that. And then you can actually do languages, right? Select different languages and practice in different languages. So this gives you like a robust options to actually select from in terms of your practice. So let's go ahead to start the practice here. I'm just going to allow this, and yeah, it's just asking me to fill in my details, which I will do quickly. I'll just put this Damola, and then I'll put my email, and yeah, I'll just answer these questions, and I will strictly from email, and then I will start the role play. So it takes a few seconds. So yeah, right there. So right off the bat, it actually simulates, you calling, the VP, which is really cool.
Hello, who is this?
Hi, David. This is Damola. I'm calling from Lead Score AI. I just wanted to share a bit about our tool, Lead Score, and how you can help.
All right, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, so I'll say that Hyperbound is actually pretty solid in terms of the call. So now we're checking out the feedback. So I can see that, yeah, the transcript is really solid as well. You can see that it gives you a very broad transcript. You can download that, and I guess it's also loading the recording, which gives you access to download that as well. And you have the scoring that is in progress. Actually, it says developing based open that respects it. So it tells you what to improve, right? Prepare thoroughly with research on the prospects company, attempted to provide social proof. So it does give you a lot of information, and then it scores you based on very specific areas where you could have done better, and you can actually see ways that for you to improve. And in terms of analytics, you can see that talk listen ratio was 0%. Filler words. It does give you a lot of information at the end of the day. I guess leaderboard would be on their higher level plans and objections. So it did score me 11 over 100, which is poor, which is bad, right? And yeah, so there we go. Didn't really respond well to the objections at the end of the day. I'm busy, so why don't you tell me why this conversation is worth my time, right? So a lot of really good feedback, I would say. It does give you a sense of where you could improve. And the AI itself too was really good as well. There wasn't much lag. All right, so the second tool that we are going to be trying today is Second Nature. Now, I'm just kind of breezing through this calls. I'm really not putting that much effort into the sales process. I just want to show you, especially from a beginner's perspective, what it feels like to use some of these tools and how you can actually level up just practicing with the AI. Because I think a lot of people get really skeptical when they hear, oh, this is built with AI, this AI. I mean, these tools can actually really help you improve, especially when it comes to practicing and really improving. So let's just get into it. So, second nature AI. Um, so I'll just allow. Right off the bat, it seems to want to use my camera, and I need to agree. No problem. Second nature seems to be built a whole lot more for enterprise teams. It seems a lot.
Hi, talk to Oliver Thompson, head of sales operations at ABC Solution, and discover what it will take to sell him your CRM solution called Deal Flow.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So, what can you tell me about deal flow?
Dealflow is our flagship tool that helps you to practice. Well, not practice, it helps you to see the best session there just because, yeah, we are still running through a whole other tools. But I think that gives you an idea. As you can see, there's a bit of break, in terms of like the information getting passed into there, and it doesn't really have that conversation flow like Hyperbound. There's like a 1 to like maybe 0.5 second lag, which is not bad. I mean, I think it's pretty good. So let's see. It says I passed, which means I did better than how I did on Hyperbound. I would say I would still give Hyperbound the interaction was a bit better just because it just felt less laggy than this one. But this one was actually pretty good. I mean, these tools are incredible. I would recommend either of them. I think they're both okay. So yeah, so the result is just getting prepared, and yeah, so any of these tools, it would take a couple of seconds for you to get your report, which is understandable in my own opinion. I think yeah, just with a bit of time, and then you get your report. Okay, it's just analyzing. All right, so it scored me 58. I thought I actually passed, but I'm guessing because I did not stay to the end. So there's one thing that I would say that you get here. I'm not sure if I saw it on Hyperbound, but you can actually download the PDF of your results, so which is really great feedback for you to be able to have and maybe share with other people, share with like a sales manager, or share with your team. I think that's a pretty good one. So the result seems fair. It ranks me based on knowledge and proficiency. I'm not so sure if this is needed in terms of like video. I'm really not interested in seeing myself, or I don't know if every sales manager will have the time to start watching everyone's video. I think the report should suffice. But here it goes. I mean, it does seem to be heavy on analyzing the video call, and very not as heavy in terms of analyzing its effectiveness, the call's effectiveness versus like the objections and the goals that we're trying to achieve on the call. I think that's where Hyperbound really stands out, because these are a bit generic, but pretty good in terms of highlighting areas like pace, clarity, sentence length, and all of that. So it also talks about energy, which I find interesting. Um, Overall, good energy. So yeah, you can go ahead to practice again and try it. So, but that's all about second nature. So we'll be jumping into the next tool now. Platform, I really admire Yoodli. They are backed by Google, and I believe they are a bit generous in terms of their pricing. Let's just check that out now. You can see you have startup, which is $0, and pro, which is about $8 per month. I would say out of all the tools, Yoodli is probably one of the most generous on this list, right? And with Yoodli, um, you're not just practicing sales conversations and being ranked based on conversation. Usually goes deep into things like your filler words, your tone. All right, so it's asking, what can we help you? Sales deals. Okay. I'm ready to practice. Let's go. So it's loading let's just go with the first one that we have. We need to allow and start.
Hey, Akambi. Thanks for taking the time to hop on this call. How's your day going?
Well, my day is going good. Thank you.
That's great to hear. So I have to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what this is all about. My assistant mentioned your company might have something worth looking at, but I don't have a ton of details. What exactly are we talking about?
So this is the report from Yoodli. It's not the most comprehensive report we've had so far, but it's pretty okay. Like I said, it goes deep into things like, repetition, filler words, which, I mean, to be honest with you, from a sales perspective, I'm not sure how valuable this is versus, wanting to see how the tool performs versus things like around objections, goals, and things like that. But I think this is pretty good in terms of feedback, and it's quite solid, especially at the price point. I think it's quite okay. So let us jump into the next tool. We're done with Yoodli for now. And Mindtickle, which I would say is like everything in one, especially for like a sales team. So if you're looking for training, analytics, role play, I mean, Yorubas will say gbogbo, everything, you're gonna find it in Mindtickle. I think this is an incredible tool. So yeah, let's try the role play. So AI that helps your teams practice, coach, and perform better. I mean, right off the bat, you can see their focus. I mean, they're all about enterprise, trying to get your sales team to do exceptionally well. You can see some really always wants me to allow this because that is important. We need that before we can start, unless we're not going to be able to go ahead. So select this. So let's start the role play. So I am a sales executive and I'm talking to Andrew. So, and avoid getting into technical details, but uncover the needs and establish your product fitment. So I guess I'll be pitching Lead Score AI. Since I have 7 minutes, I will just maybe do about.
Hey, this is Andrew. May I know whom I am talking to?
Hi, Andrew. This is Damola. Akombi. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Let's dive into how your solution might fit with our needs at Bank of Narnia. What specific challenges does your product address in terms of personalized interactions and data security compliance?
Yeah, what it really focuses on is lead qualification and ensuring that data from leads is secured through our platform.
All right, while regulatory certifications like HIPAA are critical, banking institutions require data security that goes beyond the basics, especially in the context of financial compliance standards. How does your platform handle industry-specific needs like PCI DSS compliance?
Sure, I'm trying. All right, so you can see it says 1.5 million users on Mindtickle. So people are actually using these platforms, right? And you can see that, yeah, I mean, they've got their stats. It says it delivers 40 to 55% increase in revenue, forecast accuracy. So these tools are really, I mean, they're jamming. They are they're producing results, right? So there we have it. So it shows me my results. It's heavy on pace, not bad. Good on filler words, okay. Suggestions for improvement, really nice. So this seems to be a whole lot very specific around the goal of the call. Not a lot of things to this thing. But then, of course, they're being very smart in the sense that if you want more information about your results, you have to speak with them, which is really nice. Because the feedback is really where the meat is, and but I get that's their sales strategy, and it's not a bad one at the end of the day. So that is Mindtickle. That is what you get using Mindtickle. It is exceptional, and yeah, they seem to have a lot of users, right? So really, really, really great. And hi guys, so now we're gonna go through practice interactions. This is the fifth tool that we're gonna be checking out today. And just for full disclosure, practice interactions was built by me, but I will be giving a fair assessment. I will be going through the tool together. So right off the bat, you can see it's a tool for sales reps to become a confident at closing, reputation, and mastery. So it's also built for enterprise and for salespeople as well. So let's go through one of the scenarios. I'm just going to take one from from what you have here, and you can click on Start Practice now to check out more demos. So let's just go through this. So this is champion building. So here you have like a description, more or less like a scenario context. And that's one thing that we built into this is that before you get into the call, you can actually see very clearly what the context is. So it says Bacchus Chen, a mid-level product manager, is confused about analytics. So the goal here is for me to sell the deal upward, challenge him to frame this as not a tool purchase, but as a strategic competitive advantage. So executives view it as a CEO level decision. Review the objectives below before you start. Okay, so it says coach your champion on how to present the business case internally, help build a compelling ROI narrative for leadership, map the decision-making process, and identify blockers. Equip your champion. So you see this again, so that it just reminds you of what you are doing, so you can read through and then go ahead into the call. So it takes about a few seconds to get in there, and once it's there.
Oh my gosh, I am so glad we are meeting. Your webinar last week blew my mind. I have been telling everyone on my team about this. The problem is my VP thinks people analytics is just a buzzword, and our CFO is going to ask me for hard ROI numbers, which I honestly do not know how to calculate. Can you help me figure out how to get this approved internally?
Sure. I get that. And yeah, I'm glad you got value. Practice interactions, the interaction itself is really nice. Try to make it as natural as possible. The voices are different and all of that. And yeah, so once you're done with the session, it takes a bit of time to analyze the results, and then it tells you, okay, the session is completed. It takes you straight into the results here, and then you can see the analytics is pretty, detailed. You can get this even like from now, right? You can go in and try a session, and then it tells you, it gives you all this information. It gives you where you could have improved. So champion coaching, business case development, so I could have improved in some of these areas. So it gives me areas to improve again. So tailor coaching and advice to Rachel's specific needs in people's analytics, develop a business case, map out the decision making process and all of that. Okay. And then it tells us also how we can position the tool. So it says like, let's explore how analytics can improve employee engagement and retention. So just some of the languages that I could have used, suggesting alternatives, right? And then you can also see your skill profile. So the skill profile is almost like consistent in the sense that it measures you based on about 12 skills, depending on the ones that are relevant to the call. So here, asking questions, I didn't ask a lot of questions, so that's why it scored me at 30. And they ask relevant questions, objection handling, was a bit fair, creating urgency, social proof, listening, and all of that. So you can also have the ability, you can download the full PDF report. And let me just see if I can show you how this. So this is how it is. It's just more or less like a replica of what you have on the call, right? The results. Your people are practicing. You're going to be able to see the scenarios, all of that, and so the idea currently, we are still working on like the addition of scenarios into this platform, but the idea is that you'll be able to create, with us, we'll be able to help you create as many scenarios as you need within your organization account, and you can leverage on any of the scenarios within the public library and just add them to your organization's account. So you have team members, you can go ahead to, yeah, you know, edit their profile, then see the goals, files, and all of that. So all of this is more or less just helping you to manage your organization's account, right? So that is practice interactions, and yeah, if you're interested, the link is below. You can sign up as well for a customized demo, and we'll be glad to help you with that. So thank you very much. And this is pretty interesting for me because a lot of these tools, the pricing is not really there on the website. So for example, like Hyperbound, you have to reach out to them in order for you to get a bit of like a demo pricing sent back to you. But if I check on Yoodli, so Yoodli's platform, it starts with $0 and then you have $8 that is billed per month, and that gives you up to 10 role plays. And I mean, it's pretty, but this is billed annually, so it's $11 per month, and I think this is not bad, per user. If you are a salesperson and you want to utilize this, this is great. But I don't believe Yoodli is built for enterprise clients. So Mindtickle is also, I believe, is quite similar to Hyperbound. You would also need to reach out to them for a personal demo to get more information about their pricing, and yeah. So secondnature.ai, this is also similar. You would have to reach out to them in order to get an idea of their pricing and how it works and all of that. And the final tool, which is practice interactions. So pricing is pretty straightforward. You have on the starter, which is up to 10 users for an organizational account, it's $500 per month, which comes down to about $4,800 per year, and you can just pay for the entire year. And also, if you have between 11 to 30 salespeople on your team, that's about $1,000 per month. And for scale, that's 31 to 75 users, which is about 1,500. And then you have enterprise, which requires custom pricing from $2,500 per month. So depending on the kind of business that you have, you would have an idea of which of these pricing metrics would work for you. And I believe this is fair because it's tiered in terms of pricing and all of that. So the decision is yours. You can decide to go with any of these tools. I believe they all have their advantages and disadvantages. Alright everyone, thank you for taking the time to go through this video. That concludes it for today. So we've been able to see the 5 AI training tools for 2026, and yes, you can go ahead to make a decision on the one that you prefer, and I'll be leaving the links in the description below for you to be able to take the next action steps. So if this is your first time, you can go ahead to subscribe and like this video and share or comment if you would like to, and we would be seeing you in the next one. Thank you and take care.